About this case and the implications, let me turn to professor and law expert Stacey Lee from Johns Hopkins University. Professor, this case will be decided by a Republican judge appointed by former President Donald Trump. Is the ruling here, in your opinion, a foregone conclusion?
I hope not. What we've seen in the aftermath of Dobbs is just really a recalibrating of access to reproduction services. I hope that, given that this drug has been on the market for over 2 decades, that it went through the FDA approval, that for him to pull it from the market would be questioning the FDA, which has never happened before. I hope that with that, and the mere question of do they have standing, has the statute of limitations run, all of these things for me say that this should not be a foregone conclusion.
Well, let me follow up on something Tony Waterman, our correspondent, said, and something you just brought up in terms of how unprecedented this is. And if this judge rules in favor of, with these anti-abortion groups, could it throw other medicines in jeopardy while also undermining the credibility of the FDA? I mean, in the public's eye, Professor, also overriding the scientific decisions of the FDA, would they be, it just seems to me it would be staggering if this judge rules in favor of this lawsuit.
This would be a seismic shift in the authority and the credibility of the FDA. Not only does it undermine their authority, the authority and the scientific background and testing and the drug approval process, it actually is tantamount to merely setting them aside and giving a judge the ability to take on the role as a federal administrative body and determine what drugs are appropriate or not. That would be groundbreaking.
And Professor, realistically, again, if this judge goes and rules in favor of this lawsuit, how quickly would you expect this pill to be off the shelves? Are we talking about months, years? And what does it mean for states in America where abortions are actually legal still?
Right. That is really interesting. So what they're asking for is an injunction. I would imagine that hopefully at this time, everything would stay in place while there's a lot of legal maneuvering to overturn or to re-examine this through the proper or with the appropriate legal analysis that would lead to the appropriate conclusion that the drug has been adequately and properly tested, that it is safe and effective, that the plaintiff in this lawsuit doesn't have standing to sue, suing on behalf of the doctors rather than the people who actually took the pill, and that the statute of limitations, which is 6 years, has run. If, however, this were to go forward, yes, it would be really interesting to see how long in the states where they still have access to medical abortions, how long they would have access to the drugs. And given that that 40% of abortions are medical abortions, if this drug is removed from the market, there would be a real recalibration, as in the states where abortions are still legal, providers are trying to scramble to figure out how to go through what was a two-step process. Would all of those clinics have to revert back to surgical abortions? So this would really upend and severely limit, again, a woman's access to abortion services.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Professor Stacey Lee, thank you very much.